What's going on, family? Hey, man. Shooting at Fort Stewart, Fort Stewart Army Base down in Huntsville, Georgia, man. Five shot, 28-year-old sergeant has been apprehended. He has been identified. I want my heart to go out to the families of the people that were shot, man. My heart even go out to the shooter, the 28-year-old sergeant. I don't know what triggered that. I don't know what happened. However, man, what I do know is that young man just threw his life away. Army bases and Army court systems, it's not like the citizen court system. They're going to be the judge, jury, and the execution. That young brother probably will never see the light of day again, dealing with what the heinous crimes he's just done. So let's get into what the news media outlet is saying on this, and I'll come back and give my commentary.
At Fort Stewart in Georgia.
This morning, shortly before 11 o'clock, an active duty soldier assigned to Fort Stewart, Georgia, shot and wounded 5 of his fellow soldiers here on Fort Stewart. Thankfully, all are in stable condition and all are expected to recover. The alleged shooter is in custody. We have reestablished security. I have lifted all lockdown measures on Fort Stewart, and there is currently no threat to the local community. I'd like to recognize and thank our Army law enforcement and medical personnel and our partners from local, state, and federal law enforcement and emergency services for their quick response and support. I would also like to thank the brave soldiers who immediately intervened and subdued the shooter. These soldiers, without a doubt, prevented further casualties. Our wounded soldiers were initially evacuated to Wynn Army Community Hospital right here on Fort Stewart. All arrived in stable condition, and 3 of the 5 required surgical intervention. 2 have been transported to Memorial Hospital in Savannah, Georgia for additional care. We have identified the alleged shooter as Sergeant Cornelius Radford, an automated logistics sergeant assigned to 2nd Brigade Combat Team. Sergeant Radford has not previously deployed to combat. Sergeant Radford has been interviewed by the Army Criminal Investigation Division and is currently in pretrial confinement, awaiting a charging decision by the Office of the Special Trial Counsel. Right now, our primary focus is first on caring for our injured soldiers and their families, and also supporting the soldiers of the Spartan Brigade. All of the families of the victims have been notified, and we're wrapping our arms around them and ensuring we provide them all the support that we can. Before I take questions, I want to remind you that this is an ongoing investigation and we're still gathering questions. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll now take your questions.
General Lewis Levine, Coastal News, can you give us what unit he was assigned to and how long he served in the Army, if you didn't mention it?
Yeah, he is assigned to one of our sustainment units here in 2nd Brigade Combat Team at Fort Stewart. And I will have to confirm how long he served with us. Yes, sir.
Sergeant Russ Bynum with the Associated Press. As best you can, knowing it's still early, can you walk us through where this happened, what happened in the shooting, and were the victims subordinates of the sergeants, or were they people over him in rank?
Yeah, right now it's premature, and we're gathering a lot of the information. What we know is this soldier, the shooting occurred at the soldier's place of work. It did involve his co-workers. We're still not certain about the motivations, but again, he's been interviewed by Army investigators, and we believe we'll gain more information here shortly.
General
Yes, ma'am.
WSAB, do you know if this was any kind of training exercise, or were they cleaning any weapons, anything that you know so far?
No, ma'am. We don't have any reason to believe it had anything to do with a training event. Other than that, I can't state the motivations for this soldier.
We've heard that the shooter
Yes,
may
sir.
have been from Jacksonville, Florida. Are you able to confirm that? We also heard that he had maybe been arrested for a DUI recently.
Yeah, at this point, I can't confirm where he's from. We can follow up on that. I do believe he was arrested locally for a DUI that was unknown to his chain of command until the event occurred, and we started looking into the law enforcement databases.
Robin, now from the current, can you tell us whether or not that was a military weapon or whether this was a personal weapon that the person brought on base?
Yes, ma'am. I can confirm it was not a military weapon, and we believe it was a personal handgun.
Just a short
Yes, sir.
from Savannah Morning News. What does this mean for ongoing security measures that this situation was able to occur with a personal weapon?
Yeah, I'm very confident in the security of this installation. We've got a great partnership with local law enforcement. As you can see here at our gates, we have armed guards in protective equipment. This one's a bit difficult, and we're going to have to determine how he was able to get a handgun to his place of duty.
Alicia Owen News for Jags. Has the suspect had any prior disciplinary or behavioral issues on base?
No, ma'am, not that we're aware of. But again, it's early in the investigation, but not that I'm currently aware of.
With CMAGI of WJCL Spice News, you mentioned that some soldiers helped subdue him. Do you know if his arrest ultimately did he surrender peacefully, or what did his arrest involve?
I don't have the details on that, but I know that his soldiers in the area that witnessed the shooting immediately and without hesitation tackled the soldier, subdued him, that allowed law enforcement to then take him into custody.
And we've had time for one more question.
I know that you can't speak to the motivation, but if this turns out to be some situation where somebody had extremist beliefs or maybe classified as a terrorist attack, I mean, how does that change the base's response or the base's investigation moving forward?
Yeah, currently we have no reason to believe any of that is the case. However, we continuously assess the threat environment, both in the immediate area and across our Army and DoD installations, and we will address the threat level accordingly.
Do you have the rank of the shooter?
Yes, sir. He was a sergeant. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your questions. And again, thanks to the local responders and the local community for their help. Thanks and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Tonight, 5 soldiers shot and rushed to the hospital after gunfire. Tonight, 5 soldiers shot and rushed to the hospital after gunfire erupted at Fort Stewart in Georgia.
They have an active shooter on Fort Stewart.
Authorities say 28-year-old U.S. Army Sergeant Cornelius Radford opened fire with a personal handgun shortly before 11 o'clock this morning.
The shooting occurred at the soldier's place of work. It did involve his co-workers.
The shooting prompting a 1-hour lockdown on the 60,000-person base that spans up to 280,000 acres.
There's possibly 5 patients. They have both of their EMS trucks on scene.
The Army says the sergeant was apprehended by law enforcement 40 minutes after they were dispatched.
I would also like to thank the brave soldiers who immediately intervened and subdued the shooter. These soldiers, without a doubt, prevented further casualties.
Brigadier General John Lubis from Fort Stewart says the motive is still unknown. He says Sergeant Radford had never previously been deployed to combat or had any known disciplinary issues in his 7.5 years of service. Army officials say they found out today he had been arrested for a DUI in May.
That was unknown to his chain of command until the event occurred, and we started looking into the law enforcement databases.
The 5 injured soldiers are all expected to make a full recovery. 3 underwent surgery. Late today, President Trump saying the suspect will be prosecuted to the fullest extent.
The entire nation is praying for the victims and their families, and hopefully they'll fully recover, and we can put this chapter behind.
Fort Stewart is the largest U.S. military base east of the Mississippi River, home to the 3rd Infantry Division that is rapidly deployed to war zones around the world. Truck driver Ron Peavy says he was about to leave the base when the chaos ensued.
If you were inside, you were locked in. If you were trying to get in, you were locked out, and it became a ghost town.
Priya joins us live now. Priya, this happened on an Army base, so the military will handle any type of prosecution?
Yeah, that's right, Tom. Officials say they do expect this case to be tried in a military court of justice. As for Sergeant Radford, we do know that he was questioned by Army investigators today. Officials say he's currently being held in confinement on the base while he waits to hear more about exactly what charges he'll be facing. Tom?
Priya Sridhar live from Fort Stewart. Priya, thank you.
My understanding, you were dropping off a delivery. You dropped it off, you got back in your truck, and as you were leaving, you say that all hell broke loose. Walk us through what you saw and what was going through your mind.
Yeah, I guess the best way to describe it, being a truck driver for the 30 years I've been, it was reminiscent of what happened after 9/11. I was on the road then, and the same thing happened. The whole world just went quiet. It shut down. Nobody knew what was going on. In the few minutes it took for me to get from the delivery to that north gate where people who are stationed there would go to Savannah, and it was pretty active. There was a lot of people going out that gate, probably going to Savannah. Everything stopped. I was the first truck at that gate, and they just shut it down. And the people in the cars knew less than I did. I didn't know anything, neither did they. They just wouldn't let us out. And slowly they started turning them around. In an 18-wheeler, I couldn't do what they did, but I had to get out. They got mad that I got out of my truck, and I couldn't figure out what to do. They had county law enforcement on the other side of the gate, base police on inside, but when I got out, they just told me to turn around. They had to stop the cars for me to turn around. I went back to the PX, or the commissary, the only place I knew to go. And between that gate and back there was no one else on the base except for when I got to the PX. There was two food trucks, a Mexican and an Asian food truck, and a couple soldiers were still there. We had nowhere to go. We were the ones that got stuck out in public. There was no one else there. The people in the buildings were locked in. We were locked out. There was no one else there, and all you seen and heard was the law enforcement whizzing by. And for the 30 minutes or so, we didn't know what to do, where to go. About 40 minutes into it, initially my thought was we were at war with Russia. I was actually kind of relieved that we weren't, but I'm thinking World War III started while I was on the base. And about 40 minutes into it is when I'm relieved that nobody got killed, because in the rumor mill, you know how things get spread around. The soldiers that were at those food trucks were telling me they heard 5 people were killed. There was one shooter that got caught, and one was barricaded in. I guess that was a false report. But nobody knew until about 40 minutes into it. One of the base police pulled up and informed all of us that we couldn't be standing there anymore, that there was an active shooter, and that we had to get into our vehicles. And it was when we were walking back to the vehicles is when he also announced, okay, hold on, it's over. You guys can leave now. But nobody knew. The base just turned into a ghost town for almost an hour, and there was no warnings, no sirens. Nobody knew what was going on.
All right, let me give you a little bit of my commentary as a vet. As a vet, man, that spent time on the Army posts, and things do get locked down. Things do strict things, especially in emergencies like this. There ain't no moving in or out. Like I say, at the end of the day, that young brother has thrown his life away. He's already in pretrial confinement. CID, that's like this military police, FBI type guys that then interviewed him and spoke with him. I don't know what happened, man. Like I say, my thoughts and prayers go out to the victims that were shot. Thankful nobody was killed. Thankful those victims will eventually heal after the surgeries or whatever they got in rehab and all that they got to go through, and they will heal and get back. Pray that they get back to full strength, full health. Even my guy who did the shooting, the 28-year-old Sergeant Kenese Bradford. Yeah, brother, my heart goes out to his family, because he's in a world of trouble, man. And people don't understand the military court system and the military police and all that, and their laws is a lot different from what's out here on these streets, you know, man. And it could have been a disagreement between him and his co-workers. Could have been something said. It could have been threats going on. It could have been some mental health stuff going on. It could have been an array of a slew of anything. But however, man, at the end of the day, man, you got to go sit down and talk with somebody if you're going through something, because this ain't it. This is not it. Man, this could have went so bad. It did go bad, but what I'm saying, it could have been worse. Lives could have been lost. Families could have been really destroyed. The Army base could have been in a disarray. When you going through something, mental health, anybody out there, man, we all go through bad stuff of PTSD. All of us got PTSD, some form of PTSD. Everybody got some form of PTSD, that post-traumatic stress that might have harmed you. Thankfully, it wasn't no combat with this, because he'd never been deployed to combat. And that could have triggered him, but if he had been deployed to combat, but the brigadier general said he didn't. So with that, man, it's as a soldier, my heart go out to all the soldiers, man. As a vet, I should say, my heart goes out to them. Pray for their strong recovery. As this come out, it ain't gonna be good. Nothing good come out of it, bro. Like I said, my man probably finna go to the worst prison the military got for the rest of his life. He might get out, who knows? But as far as I can see that, they finna be judge, jury, and execution. And all the attacks that happened on the post over the years, he's gonna be bad. With that said, man, maybe y'all sure. Until next time, y'all be good. Shalom.